Hey everybody, we're gonna go live here in about 2 or 3 minutes, so sit tight and just making sure, every time we've tried to go live, we've had some hiccups with the YouTube. That's why I usually do Instagram lives. So if you guys can hear me, just give me a number 1 in the chat and I'll be back shortly. What's up everybody? We're gonna try this YouTube live thing. I got my trusty iPad so I can be answering questions today about, our topic is sourcing leads, and leads is the heart, right? And it's the center of our business. So today we're gonna be talking about leads. Every now and then I'm gonna be glancing down to look at who has asked questions, and we'll try to get to everybody tonight. I'm gonna try to go live roughly maybe an hour, 45 minutes. We're testing this out. We wanna do more lives on YouTube because I think that's where everybody can meet. Not everybody has Instagram, not everybody has Facebook, but everybody can access YouTube without having to have a subscription or anything like that. So I think that's great. Somebody says they're not hearing anything. If everybody can hear me, please use the number 1. Press the number 1 if you can hear me. That'll let me know we're all running and we're rocking and rolling. He says the face tracking square is showing up in the video. It's not gonna go away. You're just gonna have to deal with my face being tracked. Cool, so a bunch of ones. Can we turn the feature off on the camera at all, or just it's part of it? Yes, it's part of it, guys. J-Rock says it's gotta stay. So we've spent a lot of money and time investing into software to be able to do this, and YouTube really needs to make this easier, and that's one of my complaints. So when I go to the YouTube studios in LA next month, I will see if I can do that. Somebody says the audio low. I promise you the audio is not low. Just turn up your speakers. No, just turn up your speakers, I promise. Cool. All right, so let's get rolling. So I want to talk about sourcing leads and some of my top lead sources and how I think everybody should approach and think about lead sourcing. So some of my top lead sources are these. One list that I love truly and dearly, and a lot of people talk about it a lot, is the tax delinquent list. One reason I really love the tax delinquent list, it automatically shows financial stress. That information is public, so it's fairly easy to get. And if somebody has delinquent taxes, usually means they have no mortgage on the property, because inside of a mortgage is PITI, which is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And if you're delinquent on your taxes, that usually means you do not have a mortgage, which means you probably own the house free and clear minus any other encumbrances you might have. So delinquent taxes are huge in my business. I love them as a lead source. Let's see here. All right, so some people are saying we have perfect audio. We're just gonna roll with it. Cool, so another one is vacant properties. Now, you can get vacant properties from many different sources. The source that I use it from is the United States Postal Service. Now, unfortunately, you can't get it directly from the United States Postal Service, but if you have something like Property List Manager, which checks your database once a month, I think even twice a month now, against that list, you'll be able to get it. But there's other places like, I believe Atom Data has it, could be pricey, but we get it from our Property List Manager software. So I'm gonna get to the questions here shortly, guys. So I'm looking down at my iPad, reading the questions. I'll get to those shortly. But let's just keep going. Another source of mine that a lot of people don't like is probate, okay? Probate is another source of leads that we like in our business. We religiously gather those every week. It's a part of our blood for our business. Another lead source that we like is we like bandit signs. We like Facebook leads. And I think that's pretty much a bulk of a lot. But I have a team in my company where we go after problem properties, properties that have title issues. Because I have the advantage of having an in-house attorney that works on the team, he's able to do title searches on properties, find out problem issues, and also have a solution for them prior to me making an offer on a problem title, which we do a lot of cash for deeds on properties like that, knowing that we can fix the problem eventually. So what I really wanted to focus on is I talk about the leads that we like in our business. I talk about those in many other videos. So if you want to get more detailed in the lead source, go look at my video that talks about the $100,000 a month business. Look at the lead sources that we do. I still stay true to a lot of those lead sources. So what I want to talk about today is what you really should be looking for when it comes to leads. Now, as a newbie, somebody that's maybe doing 1 deal, 2 deals a month, I really think you need to focus on 1 or 2 lead sources. That's it, 1 or 2. And what I would do is become very good at acquiring and identifying those leads. So for example, if you are into delinquent taxes, don't just purchase lists from places. Actually find out how these things happen, where you can get them from for your county, stuff like that. I think because with those lead sources, if you master those lead sources, you're going to be able to generate 3 to 4 deals a month consistently if you know how to identify, how to source them. Those lead sources are very, 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 very important to your business. But instead of trying to do 5 or 6 different lead sources, you need to narrow it down to 1 or 2 lead sources and become very good at them. If you're going to religiously put out bandit signs, put out bandit signs every week. In our company, we only put out about 100 a week. It still works pretty well. So do 100 bandit signs a week. That'll be perfect. And no matter whatever lead source you like, the number 1 lead source in anybody's book is consistency. So you have to consistently do that lead source. And I preach that and I practice that myself. So what I would tell anybody that is starting this business, or you're completing 1 deal a month, 1 deal every other month, and you want to get more consistent, is I need you to narrow down to 1 or 2 lead sources and become very, very proficient at those lead sources. Know everything you need to know about that lead source. If it's tax, learn it all the way from the general statute in your state. Or if it's probate, you need to learn probate like the back of your hand, like an attorney would, or even better. That way you can identify and source these leads like nobody else, and you're actually a problem solver. Because you have to remember that we make money from solving problems, and you have to know how to solve those problems in order to generate revenue and fix a problem for your customer or your seller, which is in the same realm. So I think right now what I'll do is I'll start jumping into questions and kind of see where we are. So if you have a question, drop it in the box and I'll get to it if I see it. I'm going to start now. Tanisha says, we have a ton of tax delinquent properties. The list before the auction is coming out in August, so we should be able to call them first. There are companies here that just buy liens. What do I do? So if you're in a tax lien state, and I have a video about tax delinquent properties, you should go check that out as well. If you're in a tax lien state, the pressure is not that intimate for a person in a tax lien state. It's still a good lead source to go after, but what you should find out is the properties that were on last year's tax lien sale, and see if they still are delinquent on taxes. Now, if they're still on delinquent in taxes, in most states, there is a general statute in whatever your state is. My state is a deed state, but like Florida, if you're 1 year beyond or 2 years beyond your actual lien, then the lien holder, whoever bought it, can foreclose on your property. So find out, like I said, and that goes all the way back to being an expert when it comes to 1 or 2 lead sources. You can have a thriving wholesaling business if you just focus on 1 or 2 lead sources and become very, very proficient in learning how the tax delinquent system works in your state. Somebody's asking me how many people am I expecting at my training event. So I'm doing a conference in Charlotte, North Carolina, October 12th through the 14th. He's asking about that. There's 400 wholesalers there. Right now we have sold 330 plus tickets as of Friday was the last time I checked. So I don't know about today. Somebody asked, how often do I pull the tax delinquent list in North Carolina? I pull it once every quarter, but you really only need to pull it once a year. But I just see if there's any updates from the last time I pull it. Somebody says, what advice would you give an 18-year-old who wants to wholesale? I would say become an expert in something, or maybe even work for somebody for free. I had a young gentleman that bumped into me when I was out and about. He is actually coming here starting tomorrow. He's gonna be working for me for free in order to learn some things, and I'm gonna teach him some ins and outs of this business. It's a very, very, very rare case that I would do that, but he presented himself well and the opportunity was there and he jumped on it. So when you guys see me looking down, I'm just looking at my iPad here to get the questions. Terry Barr asked me what lead sources do I strongly recommend for people. Well, if you're in a tax deed state or a tax lien state, any state actually, I would go after the tax delinquent list. And another lead source that I would go after particularly is the vacant houses. Now, I love driving for dollars. I always tell any newbie that's there, you must go driving for dollars. I think it's the most rewarding, satisfying, and instant gratification when it comes to doing driving for dollars in the lead source. So yeah, that's one of my big things. Let's see here. Somebody says, hey, I'm a newbie, just started using Investor Carrot. I'm using bandit signs, list source, tax delinquent, cold callers, no real leads. I got a few driving for dollars, but the sellers want way too much. Need help. Robbins, I think you really need to focus on what it is you're trying to focus on. You basically, that's all the lead sources there is to do. I think you needed to focus on a few, just like I talked about earlier. You're going after too many lead sources and you're a master of none. So you need to figure it out, what you need to do. So I'm looking for more questions here. Somebody's asking, would love some advice on how to do estimate costs on a property. There's real no formula to that. What I would do is ask that same question inside my Facebook group called Wholesaling Houses Elite. So if you're on Facebook, go to my Facebook group called Wholesaling Houses Elite, post that same question. You'll get a bunch of answers. It's one kind of hard to answer. You really don't have a method for it. It's not like there's an Excel sheet that you punch in some things and it spits out a number. It's more of a science to it than just a math problem. What documents need to be submitted to the title company for a wholesale closing? So your contract with the seller and also your assignment with your end buyer. Your contract with the seller and your assignment with the end buyer. Those are the two things you need to submit to your title company in order to start the process of closing a property. When do you offers? Somebody asked me, when do I make offers over the phone? And when we see the property, we do it both ways. We've got good enough to be able to make offers over the phone, and that's kind of what we do both ways actually. Where do you get agreement contracts? You can go inside my Facebook group, Wholesaling Houses Elite. Listen, guys, if you're asking a lot of questions, and I know a lot of you is your first time using me, I would recommend everybody on this live stream right now go join the Facebook group Wholesaling Houses Elite. A lot of these questions are answered in there daily, and the contracts are in there, spreadsheets are in there, everything is in there, and it's absolutely free. There's nothing to it. Somebody's asking me, how do they get a residential code violation list? What you're going to do is in your county or your city is you're going to Google who does the residential code violations, call up the manager, call up the person and say, hey, can I get a list of your most recent code violations or the ones that you've had in the last 90 days? If you want the code violation list, go to the code violation office, code enforcement office. Have I done any wholesale deals outside the United States? I have not, no. Somebody's asking me cold calling. So if you're asking me web presence versus cold calling, you're cold calling. What's my take on wholesaling townhouses? I wholesale real estate, so I don't care what it is. If it's a deal, it's a deal. So guys, keep the questions going. I'm really, I really want to stay on this cast for a while. I'm seeing a lot of repetitive questions, so if I answer it, I'm just going to skip over it. Somebody says, share my cold calling scripts. Once again, those things are posted inside my Facebook group, Wholesaling Houses Elite. Contracts, scripts, all that stuff. They're in the Facebook group for free. When is a deal not worth taking? When it's not a deal. Like, you got to understand, a deal is a deal, and something that's not a deal is not a deal. So if the numbers don't work, then it's not a deal. We're not emotional or desperate buyers. We only buy deals. Keep that in mind. Can you talk about long distance wholesaling? Josh Wilson is asking about long distance wholesaling. I think you're referring to virtual wholesaling. I've got a couple podcasts on my YouTube channel, one with Chaim and one with, I forget his name, it's blowing my mind right now, but there is a couple people. What I would say, Josh Wilson, is search the term virtual wholesaling and you'll see a lot about it. There's a guy on Instagram, Detroit Mogul. Check him out. He teaches that. He does that, and he's pretty good at it. When am I coming? Irvin says, when I'm coming to Miami. When I go to Miami, most people don't know about it. I just go in and out. I'm not there, so I don't really do classes or talk to much people out here. How do you talk a seller down that won't budge? Well, one thing is that you got to learn when you're doing wholesaling is that you can never force anybody to sell something cheaper than what they want to sell it. It's just not in the game. You're a deal maker. You can't like force that. So if a person's motivated, they're motivated. If they're not, they're not. Move on to the next one. Yeah, Jalen White was the other video that did the wholesaling. How do I find hot zip codes? You want to use a tool called List Source. Search that exact same thing that you asked, List Source, hot zip codes in Google, and you'll find the answer to that. How do you contact a homeowner that lives internationally? You're going to find them on Facebook, use Messenger, whatever you need to do. That's pretty much what you have to do. Find closest relatives if you have access to that information. Somebody's asking me, Max, what is your long-term goals, 5, 10, 20 years? In 5 years, I want to have a multi-state $5 million wholesaling business. I want to continue to grow my brand. I want to get a TV show. That's some of my stuff, but also something that everybody in real estate investing is I will never close the doors on my wholesaling business, no matter how successful I get outside of this. Another thing is my deal right now is I buy a home to keep for every 10 deals I have. So roughly around every month or every month and a half, I buy a house for myself to keep. And then my long-term goals are to own large apartment complexes and development deals, commercials and stuff like that. So that's kind of my long-term goal. Somebody's asking, Brian Lopez is asking me to do an event in Miami. Brian, it's literally an hour-and-a-half flight, 2 hours from Miami to Charlotte. Jump on a big plane, come to Charlotte, October. You're not going to regret it. I'm never going to do an event in Miami. All right, so somebody's asking me, for beginners, do you recommend real estate attorneys or title companies to help close? I know you have a real estate attorney yourself. When would we work with a real estate attorney? All right, guys, so here's the thing. The reason why I have a real estate attorney on the team is because we are a real estate closing state. We don't have title companies in North Carolina, okay? There's other states that they're title company states. They don't have real estate attorneys closing deals. Okay, so I'm in a real estate state, real estate closing attorney state. So I have a closing attorney. If you're in that state that uses title companies, then you need to find your title company pretty soon. Daisy chaining is not okay. It's not okay. You're in the business of solving problems. Find the problem and solve it. Don't piggyback on something else. So daisy chaining is not okay. It's very, very frowned upon in this business. If you want to know exactly what Property List Manager does, go to my video called The 7 Tools That I Use in My Business, Wholesaling Tools. Okay, Terrence, the person says the code violation list doesn't exist. Yes, it does. Ask another person. Kelvin Hunter, is wholesaling real estate legal? No, I am committing a crime and I'm recording it on YouTube every day for people to see. Yes. No, I'm being very sarcastic. Wholesaling is very legal. I get that question all the time. All you are doing is buying property and selling property, right? That's it. You're buying the property, you're putting it under contract. You decided not to buy it. Somebody's buying it for you, so they step into place for your assignments of contract has been around since the existence of contracts. Okay, you're not selling a property, you're selling your contract. So your intentions is to go in there and buy a property, and you wholesale your rights away to the property. It's that simple. Somebody asked, how can I get my investor carrot page to convert leads? They have training on that. I don't know exactly what to tell you. I know ours does, but you need to get training on that, and they have it. They provide it. They're the best to provide that for you. Pensacola, no, I won't be in Pensacola. Video glitches sometimes, line flashes across the screen. What can I say? YouTube's not perfect. Somebody's asking me how can they, what website they use to find numbers. So if you're on a budget, there's some free stuff out there. They're not that accurate. If you have numbers that you need to get, what in this industry is called skip tracing, you need to use REI skip is what we use in our company. If you only have a few of them and you can't afford REI skip, or you don't have the minimum 250, I think it is, you can use Skip Genie. Skip Genie is good, but you're going to pay a little bit more per lead, but the information there is good as well. James Callier is asking thoughts on wholesaling in LA. I know guys that are very successful in Southern California, and the prices of the property don't matter, because if you get a house under contract that's worth $900,000 and you got it under contract for $500,000, it's a deal. Doesn't matter. Ours is just different. Ours can be worth 100 and we get it under contract for 40. Doesn't matter. Somebody says, how much do I charge for a phone consultation? I used to do phone consultation a while ago. It took up too much of my time. I don't do it for the money. I don't want to do it anymore. I won't do it anymore, so I no longer do phone consultation. I spend a lot of time. I have a full-time videographer, editor, graphics guy that takes care of all this stuff. So I try to put out as much content for everybody here. If you're interested in seeing me and meeting me one-on-one and learning from me and some of the other top wholesalers in the country, I would advise you to go to wholesalingelitelive.com. That's wholesalingelitelive.com. Purchase a ticket to my event in October, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Do I use a list software other than ListSource? I've used something other than ListSource before. DataZap is a decent software, but it's not a skip tracing software. And the only thing that I get from DataZap is my 65 plus high equity properties. That's it, and they come with a phone number. I can't tell you how accurate it is because I haven't been the one making those phone calls, but I could probably check if I looked at the numbers on the company. I use ListSource quite a bit. It's one of my #1 places to get just lists from across the country or lists from across the state. And then I heard other people using what they call Listability as well. Cleveland is not a tough market. I know a lot of guys killing it in Cleveland, so don't use that excuse to limit your belief. What do you do if the buyer does not want to pay closing costs and he is not an investor or a buyer and you need to move to the next? Buyers that buy these properties know the deal. Closing costs are going to be less than $1,000. Somebody says KC and MC Investments. If you put a property under contract, how long do you have to sell it before the person is no longer interested in your contract? That goes down to what you got it under, how long you got it under contract for. Our contracts are typically anywhere from 20 to 30 days long. We typically close in between 7 to 18 days is how long we usually take to close. So it's all written in your contract. If I can write a contract now for somebody that doesn't want to leave till 90 days, and I'll write it 90 days out. What do you do if the buyer is also an investor? You want the buyer to be an investor. You can, Josh, you can market, you can work in LA. I just said that. And I promise you, I know people that are successful. Jalen White, one of my last podcasts, he was in LA. He had deals there. Made $100,000 in a deal. All right, guys, so we're approaching the 30-minute mark. Tammy, yes, I do use the cold calling on steroids methods. I've been using it for over a year. So guys, I'm gonna wrap this up here. I really wanted to do a test on YouTube to kind of see how it works, and I plan on doing this every single Monday. So if you're here, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the bell button so you know when I have events I'm gonna go live. I promise you we'll do more in-depth stuff and have better topics when it comes to these live, but I really just want to do some one-on-one stuff, right? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to subscribe to my channel now, hit the bell button so you get notifications, and I want you to connect with me on some other platforms. I'm very active on Instagram. Find me at The Real Maxwell, and also find me on Facebook. My Facebook group is probably one of the most powerful things for the wholesaling community. It has over 30, I think close to 25, 32 something thousand members in it. It's free. It's a Facebook group called Wholesaling Houses Elite. We're all elite members. Go join. It's free. Go join right now. You're going to have your contracts, all that other stuff in there, right? And if you're interested in coming to my event in October, it's going to be the best wholesaling event ever, okay? I want you to type this in on your browser, www.wholesalingelitelive.com, wholesalingelitelive.com. Go check that out, please. And just follow me on other social medias. And I promise you, 2 years ago, and a lot of people don't know my story, but less than 2 years ago, I was broke. I had failed projects, and now I'm doing well, okay? Our company is doing real well, around $1 million plus wholesaling business, and I all owe that to just being consistent and very, very addicted to this process of what we do. So I tell you guys this, learn this process, become addicted to it, and wholesaling can change your life like how it's changed mine. And I want it to do the same for you, and that's why I do these YouTube videos. So listen here, all I want to do is I want to see you guys in my Facebook group, and I want to see you in October at my event, Wholesaling Houses Elite. Wholesalingelitelive.com. Wholesaling Elite Live is going to be the best wholesaling event to date. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Follow me on Instagram. Peace out. Later.